So back here with another Entrepreneur in Car series, and the topic of today will be fun in entrepreneurship. And I will make a case why fun is this important while being an entrepreneur. Of course, being an entrepreneur is also serious business, and you shouldn't make fun about it or approach it in an unserious way. That being said, an entrepreneur, especially a biotech entrepreneur, has a big burden to carry. For example, in biotech, only 1 in 20 enterprises still survive after 5 years. So that's only 5%. That means that 95% of those businesses will die. And it gives you a vision that in order to survive that, you have to work very hard and also give some balance to all those burdens that you have to carry for being in such a situation. And I think, and I'm confident that this is true, that fun is an important factor here. So if, for example, you have to make these long days of work, and every entrepreneur, not only biotech entrepreneurs, have to put on a lot of work to make their business successful. And if you're working harder than you would normally do, for example, as being an employee, then it is very important that you still derive fun in that, and that you also have pleasure. And if you have that fun in your work and also with your colleagues, your fellow entrepreneurs, this makes it much easier for you to sustain this level of work commitment and put in the hard work also when things don't work out as you planned. And being an entrepreneur, this is part of entrepreneurial life, but also not always a nice surprise. Often these surprises are setting you back and you have to reinvent yourself again, etc. And then it's good that you can still find the joy together. You make a joke, you think about the situations, make a little bit of caricature around it. This is like overcoming obstacles. And if you see an obstacle as a challenge, and you also get excitement out of that challenge, that's a lot better than you just see it as something that's blocking your path and you have to go through it or over it or under it or around it. Of course, this is the case. But sometimes these obstacles don't give. You cannot go through, and all those other things are very hard to do. And then if you keep deriving this pleasure, you see that it's a lot better. The result is a lot better. Also in war times, for example, I was born in Rotterdam in the Netherlands, and this region was very heavily struck, especially during World War II. And you see that the Dutch people, on average, but especially those that are living in those regions that were heavily struck. For example, in Rotterdam, a big part of the city center was completely demolished. And then it really helps that you still have humor, so to say, that you can make something out of nothing and enjoy the things in life, even if those are very little. And I would really want to press you as an entrepreneur, to another entrepreneur, keep this joy in your entrepreneurial life. That makes it a lot nicer to be in, even if the entrepreneurship fails. As I mentioned, only 1 in 20 survives on average, but also the other way around. If they do survive and you have to put in the hard work day in after day, then it's very important that you also derive energy from that entrepreneurship that you have. You find joy in it, You have a brothership with your fellow entrepreneurs, and this in my opinion makes a lot of difference. And also when I look at an entrepreneurship, I don't only look at the business model that they have or the intellectual property. Of course these are important terms, but there's a lot to be said that you have a strong team that's flexible and is also able to overcome. If they have a track record of making things work, even if the odds were favored against them, this is an important criteria to see whether you can really make the difference. So fun is a very important aspect, not only of normal life, because every day that you can laugh, you can have a lot of fun in your normal life as well. They say in the Dutch language, een dag niet gelachen is een dag niet geleefd, which means a day that you were not able to laugh is a day that you were not able to live, or live fully, so to say. So this should also apply to your normal life, be applied in your normal life, but especially in business life, because this is a hard thing to do right. I would really want to press you to keep the fun in your life, and also especially in the business sense, and also keep this possibility that you can laugh at yourself, at your company, at your colleagues. Not to damage them, of course, but keep the spirits light and up, instead of all going down the hill and into that dreary state. You should always try to seek out the light and take it from there. Well, I hope you liked this video. I did, and please, if you do, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Have a nice day. Bye bye. So this is another entrepreneur in car, and today I want to tell you something about mentorship. And even more important than mentorship, I find the brotherhood, so to say. So first, a mentor. A mentor is someone that has already achieved the goals that you want to achieve and can pull you up with its advice, life experience, but also to give you some access to a network, or some starting money could also help. This is very important, and if you have someone to just dwell with in a friendly manner, of course, and that you can improve your game like a boxer does when he's being trained by an old specialist. He will up his game, and so should an entrepreneur. And especially because that guy already achieved what you want to achieve, he can get you started. However, having a mentor is one thing. You should also always think and find out for yourself, because sometimes one person would go this route because that fits that person, but you would rather go that route. And sometimes that route could even be better. For example, circumstances have changed between your mentor and your situation, or you just are not comfortable going that way and you think this way could be better. However, it's very hard to maintain that level of confidence within your mentor if he tells you to go that way and you're going that way. So you should not be stubborn, otherwise why would you need a mentor? Because if you know everything best yourself, why would you get advice from a mentor? But on the other way around, if you are able to interact with your mentor and ask him, could this also work? Could this a little bit of this route also work? Perhaps you find a new way that might be in between, or have a little bit of the path going that way and then the other way again. And that could be the best way to move forward for you. And that would also still be respectful to the way that your mentor taught you, because it's also a little bit his way now because he interacted with you, but also would still be acceptable for you to go. That being said, I'm not for reinventing the wheel every time again. So This is a part that I mentioned, another way that you could go and could approach it together, but often first look into the way how the mentor did it. Also ask him, what are the pitfalls? What are the things to look out for? What are the benefits? Why he chose that route? And if you know those benefits, that route of his choosing could become very much more attractive to you as well, because you know why you should go this hard way, or why that shortcut that you had envisioned doesn't work that well. Perhaps that mentor also wanted to take that shortcut, and he tried and he failed. And then it could be wise for you that you take his experience into consideration instead of failing like the mentor did, and then have to reinvent yourself again. So these are some parts that are of great importance, but also another part that I mentioned. So it's good that you have someone that's to look up to and to also help you around the way and this new field for you, and also help you increase. But the other way around, it's also very important that you stay true to yourself, and in that purpose you do not only have to surround yourself with people that are better than you, also people that you can mentor, that have the same goals and can keep you fresh, and perhaps they also find out new ways, like you could tell your mentor. But also people that, like you, are pushing themselves, and that can be very insightful, but also very stimulating, because you know you're part of a group, a brotherhood, so to say, of fellow entrepreneurs that are pushing themselves. And it doesn't matter if they are all entrepreneurs or something else. Often I would advise to surround yourself with some entrepreneurs for your brotherhood, but it could be otherwise friends, or also people that are still working for a boss, so employees could also be part of that, because in some ways they might be a lot further than you are, or still they have that dependency. You help them, they help you, and this could be extremely helpful in those dire situations that you will come across being an entrepreneur. It's not only good things that happen to entrepreneurs. Many times it's quite hard to stay afloat, and perhaps those persons, for example, that are in your brotherhood, know the clientele that you want to approach, or are just good friends. And just good friends is one of the best things that can happen to you, especially in a brotherhood, because they are loyal, they really want to help you. They are not there for their personal gains, which could be the case with fellow entrepreneurs or other persons. Sometimes you think someone is a brother to you, but then after a while you find out that in their heart they have troubles to see you overcome and improve upon yourself, and they still are here, and you are there, and you're moving away from them, and then they want to keep you closer, and as a result they try to let you fall back to their level, or even below their level. And those are not friends. Those I would not consider brothers as well. So you would be far better off in a situation where you have as little as possible of this type of fake friends that are more concerned about their position than they are about friendship and helping each other. But they do occur, so I have to warn you against them. And I really hope that you will weed them out fast, and then proceed to move on and to share your time and experience with those persons that really want to thrive like you, want to improve upon themselves. So this team, that persons, that brotherhood, all want to improve. This will join you, regardless of occupation or direction they want to head. This is something that forms as brotherhood. And also, if you know that even if they don't all want to improve, but I would advise to get them. And also, I think if you are talking that spirited against them or with them, and you show them your passion, this can often help them also to improve upon themselves and, for example, take the leap. But even if this is not the case, if they are there and they are truly interested in you, this could be a good thing. And also, if you're interested in just improving upon themselves and being a real person instead of just fake images or avatars. Well, I hope you like this video. Let me know in the comments what you think about it. If you want to join the ranks, please subscribe, and we will meet again. Bye bye. Another session of Entrepreneur in Car. It's raining now, so this is also a topic I want to discuss. You should make arrangements for a rainy day. This does not mean that even in a rainy day you cannot grow. I think you should. I think you should always strive to improve upon yourself and keep on growing. But also, if something goes amiss, you better be prepared that you can weather the storm, so to say, that you have some means that you can survive at least a few months. And even if you are not there, because most entrepreneurs will not be there, and also not for the coming times, because they have to put a lot of money, time and effort into their company to keep the company afloat in the first time. And without the company there's no money whatsoever, so you can imagine that that's the first priority. But if you are able to manage your expenses, for example, so that you can put some money into your company if needed, or the other way around, if you already have some money in your company, that you don't spend everything, you take something into consideration, for example, when there's no money coming in. For example, due to COVID-19, it could be that your business is really suffering. My business was really suffering and still having a hard time. Then it is good that you are still managing. You're able to keep afloat if things go a little bit sideways, so to say. And if you do, you also, even if you don't have it for a few months, but if you even have it for a few weeks and you're working on it alone, as a standalone product, alone, that topic, if you are trying to arrange something, this can fulfill you with a certain sense of pride, in my opinion, because you try to accommodate that you are less fragile. And that's, in my opinion, what it should be. You should try to look at opportunities to make you anti-fragile, if possible, and if that is not possible, less fragile. So what does less fragile mean? Yeah, fragile, of course, we all know what that means. If you're fragile, you are easy to break, and if you break, yeah, there's nothing left, being an entrepreneur, especially because for most entrepreneurs, when they start, they are the business, and without them there is no business, and without the business, oftentimes also there's less of an entrepreneur, less of a persona left. I would advise against it, that you see that if that entrepreneurship cannot continue, that you cannot continue, but oftentimes you're that much intertwined because there's a passion between you as an entrepreneur and your baby, the business that you are setting up. But the other thing is, if you're less fragile, you're less able to break, so that's a good thing. For example, normally you would break without income in the first month, and if you're less fragile, you can sustain, for example, 2 to 6 or months or even more without income. That could give you an indication what less fragile would mean. And anti-fragile would be, for example, if there's not an external source of money coming in, that you already have side hustles that will feed into the business, for example. And that the business is able to sustain itself in a way, or even a percentage. Even if you can do this for 5%, 10%, and climb up that ladder, that would be very beneficial. For example, you're a painter like my father was, and you have your own painting company, and you paint buildings, and for example, after a while you have some crew, and then instead of hiring the business, you buy a location where you can do your business, and also you rent out half of that location that you bought, and the other half is bringing in some rent. And that rent will only be a small percentage of the business that you need to have as a money income to sustain your business. But it can still help, and you can build from that. So for example, a second location, a third, you can have a franchise, for example, that they do your painting in this case, but then under your name, but in a different location, you get some income from that as well. So that could help a lot. Hope you like this video, and speak to you the next time if you subscribe. Bye bye. So buckle up, there's another entrepreneur in car session. This time we are going to talk about the T profile. So what do I mean with a T profile? So you have a broad base, this part, that gives you access to all kinds of things. So for example, you know a little bit about finance, marketing, you know about people management. You also know how to do general tasks at the office. Then you have your depth. You are very good at one specialism, and that's here. So you have a lot of additional knowledge in this direction. And this T profile offers enormous benefits. So why are these benefits that enormous? And I think this is very important, that you have a wide area that you can talk with different disciplines. You can also understand part of what they do. So you have a level of interacting with them. Whereas in this direction of the T, you have so much more to give that you also will add to all those other specialists to their interests. So you have this level you can talk together, and this you can fully improve their business upon. And if you have that kind of profile, you are an asset to a team, because in this direction you are the specialist. In that direction you can still talk to them and you can interact. And here, where this T is interacting with this level, and can also have some shifting. Every time it interacts with all those different areas of expertise, you can have a cross contamination. That would be a negative sense, but the positive sense, and that's what I was referring to, is cross-pollination. So you can interact with each other, and that interaction points give you interesting perspectives, which can also result in innovations, for example, improvements. And that's what is hard to realize if you only stay in one direction, you only understand this. So you have limited interaction with all those other levels, whereas you have that basic level of understanding, you can dive deeper and you can also break through. So because, for example, you are here the specialist, but you have this interaction, at this level you can add some of that interaction of that other guy on his specialism to your, and you can even break through to another level together. And that's what you want. You want to have a breakthrough, and then you have something that no one else has or that is very rare to be found. And that's the dynamic that I want to create. I hope you liked this video. I did. I also hope that you can understand why I would advise for a T profile, but I'm very interested in your thoughts on this matter. Have a great day. Bye bye. So in this entrepreneur in car, I will tell you something about the seemingly contradiction, because I'm for the T profile that has still a lot of influence in this direction, because that's your specialism. But on one hand, and on the other hand, I tell you this. And what I tell you is, be broad and be not someone that can only fit in one direction, but can be multi-purposefully introduced into different situations. So that's quite a complex sentence. But what I mean with that is, it is very important that you are not only offering a solution to one problem, but that solution could be used in many directions. So for example, being an entrepreneur, you learn to set up a successful business, and what you have learned you can extrapolate in another business. Yeah? It's just a simple example. But also, being an entrepreneur in one business, you could, for example, be very good at painting. Yeah? Again, the example of my father, who was a painter. But perhaps you can do a little bit of other things as well. You, for example, you can help to do some carpeting where needed, or you can help people to get bigger houses when they want to expand. Especially in the Netherlands, they often want to do this. For example, to build something on their veranda or porch. How to say this? That gives them more room internally, that covers them from the rain, which you also hear now, but also gives them more light and more living room. So you lose a little bit of the garden, but you get a little bit of more of living room internally. And if you can do all those tasks, and for example they are not asking you about painters, you can still do a little bit of carpeting, or they are not asking you to do carpeting or painting, but you can still help to increase the living room in houses. And it's all, so you have less fragility in that way, because you're not only a painter, carpenter, or something that helps to widen the scope of a housing arrangement, but also there's interaction. For example, you come somewhere to do the carpeting, and then they say, okay, yeah, it's fine like this, but now we have to find a painter, and you are the painter as well. Or the other way around, when you do this with a configuration to increase the living room, for example, in a house, and then you take a little bit of the garden and put that as a all-round solution. You put all the glasses in, and you have a new, bigger living room. And then you can do the painting. You can also do the carpeting to further increase it. Or for example, you need to add another level to that living arrangement. You can do the carpeting, you can do this, what you have learned, to expanding the houses, living areas, and you can also do the painting. So I really would like that you can do both, that you are able to do some tasks, so that you are less fragile. So if something happens, you can still manage it. Also the interaction, that is something I really like, but you can still be very good at painting, and the others are just like small. Yeah, I should not do this because it could look a little bit silly. But for example, this is your painting part, or like this, that's better. This is your painting, but you also know a little bit about carpeting here, and also to expanding houses. And that's also something that is very close to the T profile, because this is the level of the T, and then you have this part that you know a little bit of, but if needed you can expand a little bit, like a trident, so to say, like a Maserati, to keep in the car terms, and that could really help you. Also, because you're such a good painter, you, for example, know what are the problem areas when you're carpeting. Also, when you're a carpenter, you can already solve some of the painting issues that you will normally only find out when the carpenter already made this complete solution. You cannot alter it anymore. So there's also some interaction there which could really help. And because you both know the painting business and you know the carpeting business, you can also really easily expand to housing increasements, and that you have advanced living room. This is just a simple example, I will come back to it another more business-like example in the short term. But I hope you like the simple introduction on this matter. Bye bye, and speak to you next time if you subscribe. Bye bye. So this entrepreneur in core is about multiple income streams. So to be less fragile or even anti-fragile, I would always recommend that you have your core business that brings in money, and then you put some other business to supplement that. This could be that you have some revenue coming in, for example, that you have made some invention, that you could have some royalties coming in as a steady stream. And I would also always recommend that next to your main business, that you have additional income possibilities that are preferably without a lot of hassle. So for example, if you have a royalty from an invention that you made, you don't have to put a lot of effort in there. If you have a building that you bought and you use part of it yourself and you're renting it out to others, you still have some time that you have to put in, but a lot less than that you have to make it with your core business the same money again. So you get a little bit rent of that renter that's sitting next to you as well. Or for example, you get some shares in another company, you buy yourself in, and that company is supplementing what you do. If you really made it big, a lot of persons can only dream about that, me included. But that could really help. And also, for example, you could think about the future. You're doing this, for example, you're doing hard work with your hands, and you cannot sustain that. Then move to another level that you can sustain. For example, mental exercise, solving problems with your mind, you can do for a sustained period of time. Whether you're working with your hands is still limited to your prime time when you're physically strong. I'm not saying that there are not persons that are working with their hands till they die, especially in the United States of America. You see it very often. They don't have this good pension system in place, so they have to do something. And I really respect them and I really appreciate them. And also I think because of all that expertise that they gotten into the years, they have learned to work smarter instead of harder, and they can cope a little bit with that. Also, all the methods that are now at hand can help you to put a little bit of the physical strain off your back, for example, and have a smarter solution in place so you can sustain it longer. Also that way, if you know something that is causing you a lot of distress and there's an easier solution that costs you in the short run but will bring money in the longer run, because that investment will pay itself back, or makes it possible that you can do this line of business for a longer period of time, that's also a good investment to make. That you sustain that window of opportunity to make some money with your business. But also, for example, you being that constructor that really puts a lot of effort on his work and has to strain on his back and for example his legs or his knees or his arms or his neck. And then if you also look at the money that you make, you put a little bit aside and put that in something that will give you money without you putting the physical exercise in, that will help. And you can, for example, have this level of money coming from your main physical exercise and only this level from your more of investment or less physical exercise money, and it could grow a little bit during the time. And perhaps this is going down, and at this level you still have the same two halves that make the same complete package as you had in the past. But if this keeps on growing, then you can shift altogether to this more of a mental way of doing business, and all that physical strain is then gone. So you can work around that, and even if you are able to sustain this level for a period of time and then build it up, and this stays like this, you have two incomes at one time. And even if it then goes down, you still have this, and this could be twice the income that you started with. Just an example, you don't have to pinpoint it to twice or something else, but it could be a good way to approach this. For example, you're a builder and you make some money and then you buy some land of that. And then when you again make some money, you use that to construct a house. You're still working all the time, physical exercise, but in your spare time, your holidays, you construct that house. And then you pay that house, you get one time, you sell that house, and then you get a one-time investment return on investment that's very huge. And you can use it to buy another land, etc., etc. And after a while, perhaps you are not working for your normal company that much, but you're especially buying land and selling it. And if you do this for a couple of times, perhaps you're done. You can invest it in something, or you can rent out some of those houses after a while. You said, okay, did this development 2 or 3 times. I don't need it now for direct money. I can build this house and then rent it out. And that gives you like more of a mental state of sustainable income that just comes in every time. And even if this falls away completely, you still have that. And that's something I want to discuss with you, and I'm very interested what your thoughts are. Well, this was the end of this session again. Take care all. Bye bye. Welcome again to another episode of Entrepreneur in Car. In this episode we are going to talk about scope. So what should be the scope of an entrepreneur? In my opinion, the scope of an entrepreneur is not focusing on the problems, but seeing them as challenges. So you focus on solutions. You see a problem. Okay, this is a challenge and I want to overcome that challenge. So I will rise above it, adapt, improvise, overcome, and really make the difference in that way. And that way, I think you make the best effort to this every time again. So adopting, improvising and overcoming means that you can solve things. And as an entrepreneur, you need to solve problems, because there will be many a problem directed at you, and you will be the one that has to solve them. And if you don't, the problems will solve you. So they will dissolve your opportunities to make a difference and to keep on growing. Whereas if you solve the problems, you can keep on growing and go to the next challenge again, because there will be next challenges. And it's different as being an employee, because normally the company that employs you has other person that will solve this problem, and the other person will solve that problem, and the business itself will solve problems. But when you are the business, you have to solve all the problems yourself. And therefore, it is good that you have the right scope and you see that as a challenge, and a possibility to grow and become stronger again, instead of something that you really don't like and you think this is blocking you, and then you wait till the problem goes away, because the problems often don't go away. So you have to find a way to make the problem go away, or to go around it or over it or something else, or you go to another direction, but you keep on growing. And that's the spirit that you need to have as an entrepreneur. If you don't have this spirit, I think you will have a very hard life on becoming or staying an entrepreneur, because you will have setbacks, you will have problems that you have to deal with. And if you are not able to do so, or you have a very limited scope wherein you can operate to do so, you will have a hard time. And of course, also in life you have to settle with problems. But in life you have only one part of your life that could have problems, whereas if you're not able to solve problems in a business sense, you also will compromise the money that's coming in, that is there to sustain you. So then you have also more problems in the rest of your life, for example your social life. For example, a person that is not able to solve problems in his social life will have problems in his life, of course, but a lot less big of a problem as compared to someone who's not able to solve problems in his business, because he also will have these problems in his social life, of course, but next to it will also not be able to sustain his family, himself, and all those problems will then just build up and will destroy the life almost completely. Whereas if you are an employee, perhaps that employer really likes what you do and put some people next to you that can solve those problems that you are not able to do so. As an entrepreneur you can do this as well, but then you have to have enough money coming in that you can hire those persons or involve them so that they can solve some problems that you cannot. And that's a wise thing to do. Well, I hope you liked this episode. Have a nice day. Bye bye.